What's the word, y'all? All right, man. I gotta say I'm heavily, and I mean heavily disappointed. The first team to be eliminated from NBA championship contention ended up being the Brooklyn Nets and 4. And I have been a Brooklyn Nets skeptic all season long. Go check the receipts. That has been a thing. But I didn't ever see this happening in just a 4-game series. Even a couple days ago when the Boston Celtics went up 3-0, I thought to myself, ain't no way KD and Kyrie gonna go out this sorry. And they did. They went out sorry. Kevin Durant finally gave us a performance, you know what I'm saying, after the last 2 games being stinkers. That was easy for me. I bet the over. I knew that was gonna come. But I still did not anticipate them getting swept. Remember, this is a team with championship aspirations. Yes, they were a play-in team, but they were the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference for the first month and a half or so of the season, and they still believe, and a lot of people still believe. Go look at the receipts of a lot of the other people. They pick the Brooklyn Nets to not only win this series, but people still had them as the championship winner, the team that was going to represent the Eastern Conference, and they lost in 4 in the first round. This is insane, y'all. There's a stat that I saw on Twitter. The Celtics sweep the Brooklyn Nets with the margin of victory of 4.5 points. That is the 3rd smallest margin of victory for a 4-game sweep in NBA history behind the 2017 Cavaliers and the 1975 Warriors. This was a sweep, but every single one of these games was very, very close. But they could never pull it out. It doesn't matter anymore that you were in these games. The goddamn series is over. I can't believe I saw that on the timeline. People are like, oh yeah, the season is over, but hey, at least we was in the game. At least you was in the games. You have KD and Kyrie Irving. You should never get blown out at that point. You know what I'm saying? You should never get blown out at that point. But bro, I'm trying to figure out, right? Who's to blame? I know that's the game that everybody wants to play. Who's to blame? How do we get to this point where this team that was constructed to be this super team, how do we get to the point that in year number 2 of this team being constructed, they are swept in the first round? And I put together a little hierarchy, man. You might disagree. Remember, I'm just a guy with a microphone that talks in basketball, but I'm going to try to keep it as real as possible in this video. Because sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, I try to beat around the bush a little bit. I got relationships in the NBA. I know players and stuff like that. So I try to keep it up, you know what I'm saying? Maybe not a buck. I'll be keeping it 90 on the channel a lot of times. Today, I'm keeping it a buck because I'm extremely disappointed in what I saw in this series from the Brooklyn Nets. Number 1 on my to blame list, if we have to point the blames, is Steve Nash. Don't need to explain it. You watch these 4 games and you can tell that Ime Udoka coached circles around, bro. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Number 2 is a guy that I hate is on my list because I got so much love for this person, and it's Sean Marks. Sean Marks put together one of my most favorite NBA teams in recent NBA history, and that was a team with D'Angelo Russell, Jared Dudley, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen. That was one of my most fun teams to watch night in and night out. So much so that I bought a goddamn Brooklyn Nets hoodie because I enjoyed watching that team so much. I thought Sean Marks did an amazing job building a team that once he took over, we got to remember the state that the Brooklyn Nets were in, and he turned them into relevancy, so much relevancy that KD and Kyrie Irving will talk about 2 max spots and brought him in. But hopefully this is a sign to the other 29 general managers across the league that this whole super team thing might be over with. Are we looking at the end of the era of the orchestrated, constructed super team where we free up 2 to 3 max spots, bring in 3 great players, and then we got minimum player, middle of exception player, minimum player. Because what we have seen is that a lot of these teams don't end up working out. One way or another, whether it be on-court stuff or off-court stuff, these teams don't work out. And you got to think about the big old trade. The 2 big old trades that Sean Marks pulled off in the last 2 seasons. The first one, giving up Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, 1 million picks to bring in James Harden. James Harden lasted like 40, 50 games in Brooklyn before he was like, deuces, I'm going somewhere else. And they bring in Ben Simmons, who we going to talk about a little bit, who hasn't suited up for them. They gave up the whole asset pool to put together 3 max spots, 3 all-star caliber players, and those 3 max spots, 3 all-star caliber players got them into a first round exit. And now the people on the outside, because one of your max players is not playing, and Ben Simmons, now you're asking way more players that shouldn't have the role that they have. No disrespect to some of the people out there. Bruce Brown did an amazing job this series doing what he could do. Goran Dragic on the buyout market was solid for them, but their roles were significantly bigger because you have this whole $40 million hole in your lineup, and then not to mention Joe Harris being now really hurt, but you got this $40 million hole in your lineup that you need to be filled by guys that's making $2 million. So Sean Marks, listen, this is revisionist history. Hindsight is 2020. I'm not saying that he was wrong to make the James Harden trade. I'm not saying he was wrong to even trade James Harden for Ben Simmons, but I'm saying as of right now, them get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs in a 4-0 sweep, that had to lie. Come on, man. We can't just overlook it. Next guy is 100% Kyrie Irving. There's an argument for Kyrie Irving to be a lot higher on this list. Yes, he has played in the last 4 games or so, but you cannot convince me that Kyrie Irving not being in the lineup for 70% of the season by his own doing didn't hurt the team chemistry, cohesion, defense, everything attached. Every single word that you can put together that you need to have a good team, Kyrie Irving hurt those things. And that hurts me saying it because Kyrie is one of my guys. I really love Kyrie. I think Kyrie is a hooper. He's a guy that everybody loves to watch, but you cannot deny the fact that cohesion was one of the main reasons why these boys did not win. Even a couple days ago, when they went down 3-0, Kyrie Irving came to the podium and said, hey, we're not like them. We ain't had as many minutes as they had. He talked about the Boston Celtics. We ain't had the ups and downs that the Boston Celtics have had. Bro, that was fixable. And then even today after this win, there's a quote that stood out to me. I felt like I was letting the team down at some point when I wasn't able to play. We're trying to exercise every option for me to play, but I never wanted to be about me. It became a distraction at times. At times? 90% of the season when people were talking about the Brooklyn Nets, it's like halftime Kyrie or Kyrie Irving's not playing, which is the first half of the season. One of the main reasons a lot of people believe that James Harden ended up leaving is that you weren't there. And now we have to think about how we deal with you only being there on the away games. And now I got to change the way I play because Kyrie's coming and he only plays on the away games. So distractions at times, bro, that's like, come on, man. It was a distraction for the entirety of the season. And I'm not even trying to turn into an epidemiologist. This is not a conversation about vaccination stuff because I'm way past that. I'm so tired of pandemic talk and what we lived through over the last couple of years. It's not that, but we're strictly talking basketball. And Kyrie Irving only being able to play half of the season, or not even half of the season, 35% of the season, and then only home game or only away games for a majority of it. You cannot tell me that did not play a factor. And then lastly is Kevin Durant. And I'm not even just talking about because of the 2 stinkers that he put up in the series. He became an enabler of all of the BS that was going on within the organization. That today, after the game, he can't cry over spilled milk, and which I guess is a good mindset to have, but he has to look in the mirror and look at what he has created here and try to think, how do we get better? And I said after teams get eliminated, I was going to do like this, what's next for this organization? And what's next for this organization? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not mention the last guy that deserves some blame? It's been, again, I do want to say, Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets, to some extent, had to understand what they were getting themselves into. They were talking about a broken human being, whether it be physical or mental, whatever. We were talking about a broken human being, and you knew that. The world knew that Ben Simmons was going through some things, internal demons or external, that he was going through some things. But still, Ben Simmons pulling on this string, telling them, oh, I might be back, and then retweaking or whatever it is to it definitely put an umbrella over the season that, oh, snap, we going to be able to bring Ben in and things are going to be better. And they weren't. So what happens next for the Brooklyn Nets? In his post-game interview today, Kyrie Irving did say, I don't plan on going anywhere. I've been recognized for my greatness, but at this point, I really just want to be a part of a great team. Does he see the Brooklyn Nets as a great team? I guess so. He said he's not going anywhere, but I've also heard Kyrie Irving say I'm not going anywhere before. So he has a player option, which I would assume that he's not going to accept, and he is going to sign an extension with Brooklyn, but it'll be worth more money, or he goes somewhere else completely. And if Kyrie Irving goes somewhere else completely, boy, that's GG's for this whole experiment / super team. And I wouldn't put it past him because Kyrie Irving, for the entirety of his career, has been a guy that you could not predict, basically on the court too. You don't know what Kyrie Irving about to do next. It's probably going to be great, but you don't know what he's about to do next. And I cannot say with certainty that just because Kyrie Irving say he's not going anywhere, that he won't go anywhere. Kyrie Irving can switch or change his mind just like that. So we got to figure out what the hell is going on with Kyrie Irving, and then we got to figure out what the hell is going on with Ben Simmons. And after that, I guess we could talk about more about the Brooklyn Nets future once we figure those things out, but it's hard for me to even project what the heck this team would even look like next season, because there's no way you could just bring back this same team plus Ben Simmons and say, all right, now we're ready, because I think the holes in this team is deeper than just we needed Ben Simmons to hoop. So disappointing. And I know I spent a lot of time talking about the Brooklyn Nets and not so much the Boston Celtics, but I'm giving the Boston Celtics so many flowers throughout the last 3 or 4 months. I think everybody understands what Boston Celtics are doing is elite and great. There's no conversation anymore about where Jason Tatum should rank amongst NBA players. In my mind, there's no doubt he's top 10, because a guy takes pride on both sides of the ball where he can try to clamp up one of the greatest scorers of all time, but also drop 30. So I would say he's top 10. Next, a series that seemed like it was all but over is not, because the Toronto Raptors stay alive in a game where they got the 76ers to get booed off of their home court, and they go back to Toronto for a game 6. And boy, oh boy, do I see a lot of 76er fans, whether it be on the timeline or whatever, worried. And it's understandable. You got Joel Embiid playing with his ligament torn in his right hand, his shooting hand, and then a guy that, is supposed to be your supermax superstar next to him has not done a damn thing in this series. I think it might be a blessing in disguise that the paperwork for James Harden got lost before he can sign that extension, because This is a real legitimate question. Forget the name. Forget the fact that James Harden's a top 5 player at this position of all time. Forget the fact that this guy is a former MVP. If we're going strictly on what we've seen from James Harden this season, or strictly based on what we've seen from James Harden since he got to Philly, you cannot convince me that bro deserves a supermax contract. You cannot convince me, because in games like this, in series like this, where Joel Embiid is trying to play through a torn ligament, we're going to talk about Joel Embiid because he has not been him since this torn ligament. You need anything from James Harden. Anything. And the 76ers might be pigeonholed to give him whatever the hell contract he thinks he's worth. And he has lost a step. We talked about a couple of days ago, he was struggling to get past Malachi Flynn. And that's not a disrespect to Malachi Flynn, but he's not a rotational NBA player. A guy that has been known through his entire career to break down his defenders and get to the basket. He was a dual threat in the sense that, or I guess so, way more than dual. That's disrespecting. And the highs of James Harden's career, the reason why he was so dangerous and hard to guard is because he could break you down and hit you with a double step back, or he can break you down and get right past you and get to the basket for a floater or a lob up to whoever it might be, Clint Capella. Now he's not breaking people down to get past them anymore. And you can't, like, is there something he can flip? If he has not flipped it on yet, I don't think he will be able to. Is he still a good player? Hell yeah. Is he a supermax player? No. And he's older, and a supermax means that at age 37, bro, gonna be paid 50 M's or something like that. He can't, that's not a good contract for your organization. You got James Harden, who's supposed to be the second superstar of your team. Doo-doo game. Joel Embiid. Doo-doo game. This team showed little to no fight after that first quarter. Little to no fight. The Toronto Raptors came out on like a 14-0 run or something like that. Scotty Barnes is on fire. Shout out to the rookie Scotty Barnes playing through his injury and looking good. And after that, them boys didn't even try to hoop anymore. They get this is one of those teams that get those down shoulders when they in the slump, or down shoulders when it feel like it's unreachable. And those are the worst teams for me to watch, because there is no such thing as a game that is out of reach until it's literally out of reach. We just saw a couple days ago a team bring back multiple 20-point games and won the game. They were down by 22 different times and won the game. So when the Raptors are up by 12 in the second quarter, there's no reason for Joel Embiid's body language to be what it was. There's no reason for James Harden not to try to do anything. And then Tyrese Maxey's been one of the better three-point shooters in all of the NBA. He's passing up open looks now. I don't know what the hell happened to this team. And there's a legitimate argument that even in game 3, the game that Joel Embiid hit his game-winning shot, there's an argument that the Raptors played better that game. This is not that was not a 3-0 series that they were super dominant, other than game 1 and game 2. The last 3 games could have all went the Toronto Raptors' way. Not the greatest thing. There's been no team in NBA history to blow a 3-0 lead. So I think that they'll be able to pull this out. But boy, oh boy, y'all don't want to. Oh man. That's literal worst case scenario for Joel and James Harden, for them to get backwards swept in a series where they were up 3-0. And Doc Rivers gonna get canned, and I don't know how the Lakers can have him as a top option if the board then gave up 3-1 leads and also a 0-3 lead. That is insane. And now is at the point, listen, Matisse, I've never met Matisse, but from everything I've heard from people that are really close to him, he's such a good guy. The Matisse Thybulle minutes don't do anything. Let me show you why. He's very good on defense. Do not get me wrong. There's a reason why I had him on my all-defensive team 2 years in a row in his first 2 years of his career. But even just look at this steal right here. This is how this man is being guarded all game long and all series long. This is how he has been guarded. Joel Embiid is a little bit in the paint. They're throwing 2. Look like 3 because pressure 2 like he about to help down. Now what happens? Joel Embiid finds the open man. That's a great pass. Set him up. Bricks. Got to give a lot of credit to Nick Nurse and these boys in Toronto because they don't fight. They don't stop fighting. Here's another scenario where Joel Embiid is trying to get good inside position. They got 2 defenders over here, and Pascal's looking this way. Hit play. Here it is. James Harden trying to break somebody down. First of all, you can see that he didn't even break down Kim Burch right here. So, but look, pack the paint. Even if he did break down Kim Burch right here. Oh, is that Thaddeus Young? That's Thaddeus Young. Even if he did break down Thaddeus Young here, Joel Embiid is not a threat anymore because these 2 guys are here. Who's wide open? It's Matisse Thybulle. He gets thrown 2 in the corner. That's the right pass from James Harden. Bricks. Literal air ball. And then by that point, he's in his own head. We're talking about third quarter here. Like I said, the shoulders have shrunk for this team. Matisse Thybulle's not even being guarded here. You see Joel Embiid's fighting for inside position. Chris Boucher's kind of shading that just in case he gets the ball. He could blitz him. Watch this. Let me turn off that sound. Watch this. Matisse Thybulle gets this ball here. What does he do? What do you think? What do you think he does? Do you think he shoots his 3? Nope. He tries to drive pass, literal airball of a layup. He airballed the layup, y'all. And I think the only made basket that he had in this game is because Precious Achiuwa tipped it in for him. He has not been a threat all season long, basically. The defense is good, though. He had a couple steals, but like in a game like today, there's no reason for the 76ers to get absolutely destroyed on points in the paint. They have an MVP caliber player, one of the most dominant players in the entire NBA in Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid can't even get close to the basket, really, because they're packing it so much. And Joel Embiid on the defensive side of the ball is a guy that's in conversation for all defensive team. Today, he got dominated in the paint. He got blown past on switches. And I've said this with Zach LaVine, and I'm giving you that because that's my guy. I've said this about any player. If you are on the court, you're healthy. If you are on the court, you're healthy. I don't want to hear, he's playing through this injury, which he is playing through the injury. But if you're not giving your 100%, just sit out. Legit, just sit out. Because at this point, you're not getting the production that you need from Joel Embiid. He needs his teammates to raise him up, and they have not been doing that. So, again, like I said, I still believe that, in the last 2 games, they're going to have one where, you know what? This is the crazy part. Because even in this game, the Raptors didn't even shoot the ball well. I was going to say there's going to be a game where the Raptors don't shoot well. They didn't do that today. They didn't shoot the ball well. And it's a low-key blessing in disguise that Freddie was injured in this one, because though Freddie is a very good defender, he has an argument to be an all-defensive player, his size holds him back quite a bit. I know he's topping steals and topping deflections for sure, but his size holds him back quite a bit. And now, with him being injured, it's Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Kim Birch. And then off the bench is Chris Boucher, it's Precious Achiuwa, and it's Thaddeus Young. That's 6'5" and over with max wingspans. You know what I'm saying? They're guarding everything out there. And it's been a good series so far. I know the first 2 were stinkers, and I've turned the first 2 off, but since then, it's been amazing, bro. Doc, don't be that guy. Don't be the dude. Don't be the dude. Don't be the dude to lose a 3-0 lead. In the last game, the Dallas Mavericks take a 3-2 lead. And one of those games where I'm watching, and what did I do? Click. Because it was a blowout very early on, and I did not look back. And you know what? I was reading through the comment section of the video from like 2 days ago, and somebody said, and I actually felt bad. He said, I tune into every one of Kenny's videos, but it just feels like he's not talking about this series more than the other ones. And I feel like I did a whole film breakdown when Rudy Gobert and them were losing. But either way, it means be games like this, bro. Luka's dominant. I like, what am I supposed to say? Shout out to the Mavs. I mean, that's all I can really say. I've already said everything that is to be said negatively about the Utah Jazz, and I'm not about to beat a dead horse. But I did see that Donovan Mitchell went back to the locker room, so hopefully he's healthy and can play for the next game, because if not, it's wraps. I do see Rudy Gobert had a double-double, though, so he outscored Donovan Mitchell in 5 less minutes. I literally have nothing to say about this series. Anyway, this is always open for discussion, so please leave a comment on what you think about the Brooklyn Nets season, or what you think about this series that has to do with the 76ers and Raptors.